Hank here with my thoughts on the Shure MVX2U. Inside the box, you get the device, a USB-C to USB-C cable, and a printed quick start guide. The price of the MVX2U is $129 US. The MVX2U has an all-metal construction, yet weighs only 100 grams, that's 3.5 ounces. Specs-wise, it has a frequency response of 20 Hz to 20 kHz, a digital noise floor of -105 dB full scale, and adjustable gain range of 0 to 60 dB. You have a little LED light, and that indicator will show you green if you are connected via USB, amber if the USB connection has failed, amber flashing when you are updating the firmware, red when you have muted the MVX2U, and off if there's no connection. On the bottom of the device, you have a USB-C port, a 3.5mm headphone jack, and a 48 volts light indicator. Let's take a look at the software. So over here in the manual settings, here you would have presets if you've saved any. I've saved one called Flat EQ, no compression. You have your 48 volt phantom power. When you first plug in, this is set to on. So whether you're in auto level or manual, you want to come into the software and get that turned off if you're using a dynamic microphone. Then you have a mic mute switch here. And then you have your gain setting here. And it steps by half a dB, which I really like. Monitor mix, you can control if you hear more of the microphone in the mix or more of the playback in the mix. I'll just keep mine in the middle. And then the equalizer, I have it just completely flat right now, but it's a 5-band EQ. So you've just got your little points that you could manipulate here and step them up or down. And you could play around with that. I'm not going to use it, so I have that off. High pass filter off, 75 Hz, 150 Hz. I'm not using that. I am keeping the limiter on. Then down to the compressor, you have off. Then you have a light compression. Then you have medium compression. I can just hear it back in the headphones that it is ramping up. And then you have heavy compression, which I think is just way too much. So let's turn that to off. Another cool feature I like is this little lock. Click that lock, and now it's impossible for me to mess up and change something while I'm doing other stuff. I really like that feature. And then up here on the 3 dots, you just get your preferences, manage presets, or you can quit the software or find out more. So is the software overwhelming? Not at all. Is it just the right amount of stuff in here? I think so. I'm really glad that they did the mute button here and that they're not trying to do any noise reduction. You know, every company tries to stuff in some automated noise reduction. So I'm glad that they are not partaking in that. There's specific system requirements for the desktop version of this MOTIV software, and it is macOS 10.15 to 13, 64-bit, minimum 2 gigabytes of RAM, and then 500 megabits of hard drive space. And then on Windows, it's Windows 10, 64-bit, minimum 2 gigs of RAM, minimum 500 megabits of hard drive space. I have read in the reviews that there are some users that don't have any luck with Windows 11. If you have any experience with that, please comment below. However, that is a look at the software. Hank here, chiming in really quick. I couldn't record the auto level section of the screen grab without huge errors in the audio, just because whenever you play with any of these settings, it changes so much of the volume that it was just unusable audio. So on here you have near and far. That's the positioning of the microphone. So near is 1 to 6 inches, far is 6 to 18 inches. Tonality wise, you have dark, natural, and bright. And then gain, quieter, normal, and louder. And I suggest anybody that uses the software use the manual settings. One thing I've noticed is when I'm monitoring my sound through the provided headphone jack, I'm not getting any delay like I do with some other audio interfaces. What's cool about the MVX2U is mounting wise, you can fit it into a regular microphone stand clip. Shure recommends the A25D, and in my personal use, I use the Gator Frameworks. It's a quick release microphone stand adapter, and I thought maybe with the girth of the MVX2U that it might bump into that, but it does not. A couple of notes that I'd like to bring up, one being operational temperature. Shure recommends that it's within 23 degrees to 104 degrees Fahrenheit, but I am going to definitely keep an eye on that going forward. Plus, keep in mind the device is not MFi certified. Like I said, these are my initial thoughts. So far, I like the clarity of the output of the headphone jacks. Seems really nice to me. And there's no latency that I can detect anyway, and I'm usually pretty good at hearing that slight delay in my voice coming back to me. Even on top-end devices that I have, there's usually a slight delay on that. I've just gone numb to it, but I know a lot of people don't like latency because it is really off-putting, but I've grown numb to it over the years. But on this device, I'm not hearing that. Just as I'm speaking, that's what I'm hearing, it seems like, in real time. The 60 dB of gain, I don't hear a lot of preamp noise or anything like that. It'd be kind of cool if you could hotkey like the mute mic to your keyboard and have a button combination or a button that you could press to mute without having to get into the software. I do like how they allow you to have the software be pinned to the front at all times if you choose. There's a lot to like about the Shure MVX2U. I've had a lot of interest in it since I recorded my last video about it way back in March, and my first impression is that it is well worth the wait. It seems like this will be the new interface that I will be shipping to Cohost. One, it's just so easy to mount. Plus, you get the added flexibility of the software, and it's not taxing on my computer at all. So you'll have to chime in the comments down below. Are you excited for the MVX2U? In my opinion, it's a very solid buy and a device that I am sure to make many more videos about. I'm going to dig into some other things. I'm going to try and push the temperature of the device to see if I can get it anywhere near that 104 degrees Fahrenheit danger zone, just to see if it causes any malfunctions or anything like that. But I'm sure you could say that about any audio interface. You get it hot enough and it could be a problem. And remember, you would have found out about my theory of when they were launching this device if you're subscribed to my podcast gear and software newsletter. It's a free monthly newsletter, so you can kind of keep up on the software and hardware that is always coming into the podcasting space. There'll be interesting write-ups in the next newsletter, so make sure you subscribe. Link in the description. Channel members get the video version of that monthly newsletter. Thank you.